So look, we got inflation over here running at a 40-year high. On the flip side, we got the gas prices, the commodity prices going through the roof. People are talking about $150, $170 per barrel. How does this thing not end in the recession? Let's talk about it. My name is Tom Nash, and I'm going to spend the next 5 to 7 minutes with you talking about the possibility that the United States is going into a recession. Now, we're not going to panic here. We're not going to fearmonger. Nothing's going to be emotional. We're going to be academic, analytical, and objective about what's going on. Inflation is definitely not in a good place. I'm not going to lie to you. The latest numbers point to a 7.9 year over year. That's as high as we had it since June 1982. We have the world's biggest producers of wheat, palladium, massive gas producers, and oil producers basically waging war. Now, it's not a healthy situation anytime, but specifically in a time of supply chain shortages and inflation, when you have the world's warehouse, or some may refer to it as the world's breadbasket, since Russia and Ukraine are responsible for about 30% of the world's wheat production. It's a problem. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it's not. And if it's without Russia and Ukraine, we were already flirting with the possibility of a 10% inflation year over year just in 2022. It's not far-fetched. In about 3 to 4 months, we might see that anyways, regardless of what happens in Russia and Ukraine. Now, add to it the fact that for the past 2 years, people have been pouring into risky assets. People have been living bonds and the real estate market and going heavy into stocks, equities, and crypto. That kind of mixture creates a combustion potential that might lead the US economy and the stock market into one of the biggest recessions we've ever seen. And looking at the stock market, it points out to total madness. We used to have two types of market: bear market, bull market. What do we have now? This thing, kangaroo market? It's going up and down like a crazy person? I mean, that's definitely not an indicator of a healthy, stable environment. And on the heels of that, we got Goldman Sachs out here pretty much lowering the US GDP growth to 1.75%. Now, look, it's just a Goldman Sachs forecast. I mean, it's worth what it's worth. For me, I don't really look at it as God speaking to me, but it's a nice indicator of where the sentiment is right now, which is that things are about to get much worse. And it doesn't help that the Federal Reserve is pretty much stuck. They can't really help us here. The QE policy have basically brought us to the doorstep of madness. $9 trillion in assets held by the Federal Reserve, zero rate interest. I mean, this thing has to stop because it's pretty much leading us directly into hyperinflation. So QE, quantitative easing, has to stop. But on the flip side, stopping it at this point might actually push us even stronger towards a recession. So the Federal Reserve is basically staying here and saying, well, we don't know what to do here. Look, on the one hand, if we don't do nothing, we're going to inflation. On the other hand, if we do something, we're pushing the economy closer to recession. What should we do? And in this world, there's two things that don't lie: statistics and history. And if you go back and look at every time we had high inflation, we've always seen a recession. 1973, 1980, 1990, 2008. Oh, there's more examples, but high inflation is not a good thing for the economy, obviously. Now, despite what I just told you here, and despite what I'm about to tell you right now, nobody really knows if a recession is coming or not. Nobody knows that. There's other factors that basically counter these arguments. For example, the fact is that we have right now the hottest, strongest employment market. In none of these other recessions, we had such strong employment numbers. We have literally no unemployment problem in the US right now. In fact, it's the opposite. People are trying to lure workers to come and work for them. I mean, it's a very strong employment market. Some might argue about the precise measure of how strong it is, because maybe some of it isn't really reflective of how strong or weak it is. But the fact of the matter is, we do not have an unemployment problem in the US, which is something we almost always had when we had a recession earlier. And still, despite this record-breaking strong employment market, right now, if you go back 30 days, in the past 30 days, the likelihood, the probability, the chances, whatever you want to define it, of a recession have exponentially grown than 30 days ago. This latest Ukraine-Russia situation has pushed us much closer to recession. Now, we're coming off the heels of a pandemic. Supply chain issues have slowly started to move in the right direction just before the war. The war has basically sent us back. We still have a lot of money in the system. The US Federal Reserve can't really raise interest without crashing the US debt. There's so many things in play here. Nobody really knows. If somebody's telling you that they know a recession is coming or it isn't, they're lying because nobody knows. The one thing I'll tell you is that the probability of such has increased in the past 30 days. And that's something I think you should know because everybody should prepare based on their own understanding of the likelihood, the risks, and what's coming. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I know what's going to happen. Neither I don't have magic solutions as far as what to do next. But I will share with you what looks to be on the ground as a much riskier situation than just 30 days ago. That's just my job to give you that info, and you do with it whatever you see fit. Now, I hope this was exciting for you as it was for me. I'm glad to be back. My voice is back. I think I'm out of COVID finally, thank God. Let me know below which covers you want me to do next as far as stocks, as far as stories, economics, geopolitics, whatever it is you want to hear next. Let me know below, and I'll see you Monday.